Hi, this is Jamie Franklin, curator here at the Bennington Museum. Welcome to another Tour at 10. Today we are looking at the design process for one of our upcoming exhibitions. So I am standing in front of a case of material that helps tell the early history of the Long Trail, and particularly some Bennington residents and their role in the early development of the Long Trail. Of course, the Long Trail, which is a trail, hiking trail that leads from the southern border of Vermont in Massachusetts all the way up basically the spine of the Green Mountains to the Canadian border. The Long Trail was originally conceived by James P. Taylor in about 1909. Taylor was a great advocate for outdoor recreation here in Vermont. He was also influential in the early days of skiing in the 19-teens and 20s over in Saxton's River. He taught at the Saxton's River Academy and helped bring some of the students out on outdoor skiing adventures and helped organize early winter carnivals here in Vermont. And so Taylor conceived the idea of the Long Trail in 1909, and the Green Mountain Club, which is the organization that officially manages and runs the Long Trail, was organized up in a meeting at the Van Ness Hotel in Burlington in 1910. And there were a number of people from Bennington that were involved from the very earliest years. And one of the really exciting objects that we're going to have on view in Parks and Recreation, which is our exhibition opening on April 1st, which kind of tells the story of outdoor recreation and conservation through the state parks, the Green Mountain National Forest, is this wonderful album, which is here in the center of this case. And right now we're in the process of working through the layout and design of this particular section of the exhibition. And so this is an album, a photography album, that documents an entire trek of what would become the Long Trail in the summer of 1910, just the summer right after the idea of the Long Trail and the Green Mountain Club was formally organized earlier that year, by Lawrence Griswold. Here he is as an older man. He was relatively young when he took this hike in 1910. And his friend Louis Puffer. Both of them were Bennington natives, and they were early members of the Green Mountain Club from the very beginning. And they were also very influential and instrumental, I should say, in laying out the Long Trail during its earliest years. So it really took almost 2 full decades, from 1910 to 1930, until the Long Trail was laid out in its entirety from the Massachusetts border up to Canada. But this album documents their hike along what would become the Long Trail. Basically, they were kind of an expeditionary force. They were trying to figure out what routes would work, what routes wouldn't work. Griswold was a trained photographer. He'd actually taught aerial photography later at Cornell University. And I had a wonderful curatorial intern, a field work term student from Bennington College, Alexa Curran, work with me on this project and helped do a lot of research about this album and other documents that will be in this case and on the wall above this case that help tell the story of the Long Trail. And I've been working with Alexa to kind of lay out this section of the exhibition to tell those early years of the Long Trail, how it was laid out, some of the important contributions of Benningtonians in the Green Mountain, early years of the Green Mountain Club and laying out of the trail. And so this is another wonderful document, which is part of this case, Measuring the Long Trail. This is a booklet that documents a measuring expedition from Sucker Pond down near the Massachusetts border here in Bennington County, all the way up past Stratton Mountain. And they were actually officially measuring it out with what they called a baby carriage, which was essentially a wheel attached to a cyclometer, which helped them measure as they hiked that length of the trail. And they were just kind of trying to document it and lay it out as precisely as possible. And this adventure also involved Louis Puffer, and possibly we think Griswold was also involved in this. And so we really encourage you to come and see these objects. One of the great things, one of the curatorial challenges when you're working with a photo album like this, which is so rich with information. There are over 100 photographs and real photo postcards documenting Griswold and Puffer's journey along what would become the Long Trail. But of course, you can only have it open in a case to a single spread. And so Alexa Curran, the fieldwork term student from Bennington College that I mentioned earlier, she has a lot of background in photography and digitization. And so she has digitized this entire album so that people who come to the exhibition can actually scan a QR code right on the label for the album and flip through all 100+ images of the documentation of this early trek along what would become the Long Trail. So this is one of many stories that we'll be sharing in Parks and Recreation, and we really encourage you to come on back after we reopen on April 1st and learn more about the early history of outdoor recreation and land conservation here in Vermont from the mid-19th century up to the present day. And that's that, and I'll see you in another tour at 10.